Last time we introduced the idea of different kinds of samadhi. Samadhi being a state of superconsciousness in which the knower, the knowledge, and the object of knowledge become unified. There were two types of samadhi which were rather spontaneous, or you could even say unconscious. But we are able to experience two types of samadhi consciously too. These are Savikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And literally speaking, these words refer to an all-exclusive experience or an all-inclusive experience. Nirvikalpa is a kind of consciousness of nothingness, where we've withdrawn from everything else and are just abiding in our essence alone. Whereas Savikalpa is a consciousness of everythingness, where we feel oneness with every part of this experience. And that's a good question, Sir Herb McDurb. Is Sanskrit Hindu? Well, Hinduism is a large body of many different subcultures and traditions coming together. There are many languages in and around the Hindu diaspora, but the liturgical language, the traditional language, is indeed Sanskrit, as that was the language of the seers of the Vedas, the original revelations of that time. And out of that evolved many different traditions we collectively call Hinduism. But still to this day, there are many Hindus that speak many other languages. Tamil being a big language too, arising from the Dravidian cultures of the south too. Yeah. Hindi, as many other languages of India, are brought out from Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a beautiful language, and dear Robert Oppenheimer was referring to a verse from the Bhagavad Gita that was written in Sanskrit. When he saw the Trinity test go off, he was reminded of the point in, I think, the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna reveals his cosmic form to dear Arjuna. And he says, I am become death, destroyer of worlds. Actually, the word death that's being translated as being paraphrased by Oppenheimer was Kala, which does have the connotation of death, but it literally means time. And time is the cause of death, in some sense, you could say. Very much related to Kali. With that exploration of the language of many of these words, let's dive deeper into Savikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Savikalpa means with movement of the mind. This type of Samadhi is also known as Sabija Samadhi, which means with a seed, and Savichara Samadhi, which means with differentiation. In Savikalpa Samadhi, emotions, thoughts, and desires still exist, partly conscious and partly as subconscious or unconscious karmic seeds. But in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, also known as Nirbija, without seed, or Nirvichara, without differentiation, no more thoughts whatsoever exist. No one seed of a desire or karma remains. Imagine a lake that is mirror smooth and motionless. When a pebble is thrown into the water, circular ripples are created that reproduce and spread outwards. And so it is with every situation, every impression in our lives. Quote-unquote waves are produced in our minds, just as with the pebble thrown into the water, and these reproduce and spread in our consciousness. Who is able to estimate just how much gravel and debris is submerged in our consciousness? That is why it can take such a long time for all disruptive factors, called kleshas and vikshepas, to be raised, purified, and cleared from the depths of our consciousness. Once this happens and the mind again becomes still, we are able to advance to the supreme consciousness. The expression Savikalpa Samadhi is related to Sankalpa and Vikalpa, which, if we remember from earlier chapters, Sankalpa refers to a wish, a goal, a resolution, and Vikalpa refers to indecision, change, and doubt. Just as a child builds a sandcastle, then soon afterwards destroys it and begins to build it again, so in our imagination we create an inner world, or an inner entire world, that we identify with and also experience. Then, in the next moment, when we come up with something else, we destroy it. And so it continues non-stop. To watch a child playing in the sand is entertaining and amusing for a short while, and so it is for a sage, a wise person, who watches with interest and is frequently astonished by how people seem to constantly build sand castles in their lives, and when one collapses, to patiently begin to build the next. Of Savikalpa Samadhi, there are different aspects too to explore. For example, the concept of enlightenment itself. Just as waking passes imperceptibly into sleep, and from sleep into dream, so we arrive at our first experience of Savikalpa Samadhi, inner enlightenment. Enlightenment already begins in the Ajna Chakra, which is the third eye, and the Bindu Chakra, which is at the cowlick at the back of our head. The closer we come to the Sahasrara Chakra, the crown, the more radiant the light becomes, and until ultimately all forms dissolve and our inner space is filled with a radiant light, brighter than 1,000 suns. We perceive a wonderful, all-pervasive sound, like the sound of Om sung by 1,000 voices, and the door to the infinite opens before our inner eye. A new, fascinating world full of wonder and mystery now unfolds in front of us, different to anything we've ever imagined or conceived. We all wish for spiritual experiences. But when the door of the Sahasrara Chakra opens for us, we can be like a bird sitting at the open door of its cage, uncertain as to whether it should fly out into freedom or remain in the well-known surroundings. This is exactly how we feel when the Brahmarandra opens. Even though this is what we have longed for and aimed at, it requires courage to take the next step when we are standing on that threshold. It now lies with us whether we would like to continue with this experience or again withdraw to normal consciousness. For an aspirant whose heart is filled with a burning desire for the divine light, the meditation is not disturbed and continues. But if fear, doubt, and uncertainty surface, then we should stop the practice and consult the Master. Let's pause our reading of the different kinds of samadhi there for now, but thank you for exploring it with me, and I hope to continue reading. Namaste.